For the garden. At the expense Long Island U, the unbeaten Billikens show how it's done. Like this. 6'8" Ed McCauley starts the attack, and his teammates, including 4 veterans of last year's championship team, carry on. Lou Lehman sinks this one. To complete the Long Island Rooters gloom, Easy Ed McCauley makes it look easy. Here's why the nation's best stay that way. Bob Smith passes to Joe Asola. Asola tosses to McCauley. McCauley sees Schatzman in the clear. And that's that.
I now have the cabinet broken down, all the parts removed, so we can start working on getting this ready for the repairs on the dings on the cab, the wood trim, just a preservation type style restoration. So let me get moving on this, and then I'll follow up when I get something done. A little bit more progress. I have the legs all stripped and ready to start refinishing. The back box wood is stripped, ready to start refinishing, and then the top rails and the lock bar wood on the cabinet. So let me continue on. I'll show you what I do next. All right, doing some work on the cab. Like I said before, this is a preservation restoration, so we're not going crazy with it, but wanted to get those big dings out of the front and the holes that were drilled in the coin door in the cabinet. They had some kind of clasp on there with probably a lock. So the bodywork's done, ready to get it prepped for paint. I've been working on the colors, so a little tweaking on the colors, and we'll get the final prep on this, and we'll start getting some paint on this. All right, now we're working on the back box. I got the border, the wood trim black border sprayed, so we'll let that dry, and then we'll move on to refinishing the wood. So we're working on spraying the front of the cabinet. I got one more color to match. This orange is very difficult to match. You're trying to match a faded color, and it's faded differently on all 3 sides, so it's like you got to just pick one in between. I'm finishing up the front of the cab here, so I got the I'm sealing the wood, and the paint work's done on the front, so it turned out really good. You could hardly tell that anything was done to it, so that's the goal. All right, let me continue on. Got a few more parts going on. The back glass is in. I got some restored metals on the front, and there's some in the back box, but not much. So I'm going to continue on. I'm prepping the ball lift and shooter rod, and then we're going to get this bottom control panel on the bench and get that going. That goes down here. So let me continue on. Couple more parts on the game. So we got the ball lift and shooter rod installed. You can see we left some patina there. That's the way the owner wanted it, so it turned out really nice. Let's move on and get some more parts done. I now have the bottom control panel on the bench. So this will be the next piece that we restore. 1949, so the metals are all pretty crusty. All right, let's get to it. I have the mechanisms off the bottom control panel. So let's start tackling this one unit at a time here, and I'll catch back up when I get something else done. All right, making some progress on this bottom control panel. Let me continue on and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, all the new parts that I ordered have arrived. So we have the materials we need to finish this up, so let's continue on. Okay, making some headway on the bottom control panel. So I have, starting from this corner, everything done the whole way around. Power cord, everything's restored, except for the reset unit. So that's the last piece, and then I'll be able to mount this back on the wood and get it installed in the cab. And then we're moving on to the back box light board. All right, so the last mech on this bottom control panel is the score unit. So we're going to take this apart and get it restored and then get it put back together. So let's continue on. I have the score motor restored and ready to go back together. So let's get this put back together, and then that'll be the final piece. I can mount everything on the board. All right, the table's empty. That means the bottom control unit is finished, and I do have it in the game. So now we're going to be moving on to the light board for the back box. So let me get started on that and I'll catch up with you later. All right, now we're moving on to the scoreboard, the light board for the back box. It's going to be an undertaking, a lot of mechanics going on in here, so pretty crusty metals, just like the rest of it. All right, let's get going on this and I'll follow up when I get something done. Just finished the score projector unit. So we're ready to put this back together and get it ready for the light board in the back box. So let's get this together, then we'll tear down the next one. All right, I have all the mechanisms torn down and refurbished. Getting ready to do the light board now and put all new light sockets in. So let's get started on that and I'll catch back up. All right, all the mechs are done other than putting them back on the board. I got the wood refreshed. We're gonna put all new light sockets in, so we're gonna get started on that now. Just finished all the light sockets. So we have all brand new sockets. And the 1949 spent sockets are out and the old bulbs are out, and we're ready to put the new bulbs in. So let's continue on. All right, I got the light board finished, all put back together. So let's get this back in the game. Here we have the light board, the light panel finished and installed back in the game. So we're going to move on to the Playfield now. I am now moving on to the Playfield. It's on the Playfield rack. So this is the last piece of the puzzle here. Let's get that going and I'll catch back up. Working under the Playfield, so I have some of the mechs restored, and just want to show you on this reset bank coil, all the coil plungers are oiled. That's something you never do. You never want to put oil on coil plungers because it might work temporarily, but it's going to catch dirt and end up, turning to glue later on, and then things will stop working. So this large scoring mech is done. I got the center one done. Working on that reset bank now, and then I'm going to work my way forward. So here's the large scoring mech all done. So I'm going to continue on. Still working on the underside of the playfield. Got it about half done, maybe a little over half. So most of the mechanisms are done. I still got to replace all the light sockets, rebuild the flippers, the reset banks finished. And I'll show you some mechs on the table that are finished, but I got to go through all the switches, light sockets, flippers, bunch of little stuff to do on there, but the major stuff I think is done. So over here we have a bunch of mechs that are done and a bunch of stuff bagged and tagged. So all right, I'm going to continue on, and goal is in the next day or two to have the bottom side finished, and then last phase would be starting the top side. I now have all the mechanisms done on the bottom of the playfield, so moving on to replacing all the light sockets. So we got the first one done. Let's continue on. Just finished all the light sockets, so every one of them's brand new now. And the mechs are done, so right now the next thing to do is I'm going to go through all the switches, all the playfield switches, and we'll get those done, and then we can start putting the bottom back together. Just finished the bottom of the playfield, and I am glad that's over with. That was a pile of work. If you tear every mech apart, like these metals, 1949, right? So these metals were so corroded. So to take everything apart, get everything, all the metals polished up, everything adjusted, resoldered, like that reset bank right there. If you've ever done one, like this is not a lot of fun. So believe it or not, I'm looking forward to flipping this over, doing the top side. I got some touch up to do. Let me see if I can do it with one hand here. So I got some touch up to do on the play field. And you know that you had enough of the bottom side when you're looking forward to doing touch ups on a play field, because that's not a barrel of monkeys either. So happy with it. So everything is like looking really, really pristine. And I'll flip it over and I'll catch up with you on the other side. Okay, we're top side now. I got everything stripped off. What you see sticking up there is the switches. They've been polished and refurbished. So I'm gonna clean the playfield now, try to get a lot of this dirt off, and then we'll start working on the art repairs. So we got some wear from the kick out holes here. So let me get some work done and I'll catch up with you. I have the wooden ball guide stripped to bare wood and refinished. So that's ready to go back in the game once I get the playfield done. Doing some repairs on the playfield. We're not going to go crazy on this, but this high wear area from the kick out holes, I want to at least address that. So that's, the repairs are done. We're going to get this cleaned up and get some color on there, and hopefully that'll be it, and then we can seal, top coat this playfield and start thinking about putting it back together. Just finished the playfield, so all the art repairs are done, and we're going to let this cure, and then we'll be ready to start putting it back together. So I'll catch up with you when I start putting parts on. Okay, this game is nearing completion. Got most of the playfield back together. Still have to do the pop bumpers in there, and then some switch adjustments. I don't like the way these new plastics are sitting. They got a bow in them, so I have to do something with that. But everything else is there. Just a matter of fine tuning, and then stick it in the cabinet over there and do a first coin up. Starting to install the pop bumpers and new light sockets. So let me get this in there and then I'll show you the finished product. Just put the playfield inside the cabinet, so everything's hooked up. Just waiting for one more part to come to finish it off, but we can do a coin up and see what we got here. All right, going through the schematic to try to get these bugs worked out. So we got probably more than half of them worked out, but all it takes is one to hold you up for days or weeks at a time. So let's keep at it.